Okay, so today we're diving into something that sounds simple, but is, well, it's pretty radical. It's called extreme ownership. And it's this idea that you, yes, you, are responsible for everything in your world. And trust me, it is the key to finally taking back your power. All right, let's just get right to it with a kind of tough question. Have you ever had that moment, you look in the mirror and you just get this sinking feeling that the person looking back at you is, well, just average? Like you're just coasting through life? It's a feeling a lot of us have had, right? But it's one we rarely want to admit out loud. Well, that feeling, that's the gateway to what we're going to call the average person's trap. But here is the secret, the thing you have to get. Feeling powerless, it is not a life sentence. It's a choice. And it's a choice you can absolutely escape from. So look, it really just boils down to two ways of seeing the world. On one side, you've got the victim mentality. This is where life just kind of happens to you. You're constantly blaming other people, pointing fingers. You're basically just a passenger in your own car. But on the other side, that's extreme ownership. And this is where you yank the steering wheel, plant your foot on the gas, and decide you are the driver. It doesn't matter what the road looks like. Let's make this super practical. Think about this scenario. We've all been there. You don't get that promotion you were gunning for. What's the knee-jerk reaction? It's my boss's fault. It's so much easier to think that, isn't it? But right there, that's the trap. Because the second you blame your boss, you've literally just handed them all the power over your career. Think about it like this. Your power follows the finger you point. And if you're pointing it at someone else, you've just made yourself completely helpless. You can't change anything. So what's the move then? It's going to sound completely backwards, I know. But the alternative is to embrace the power of saying two simple words. My fault. And you're about to see why those might just be the most liberating words you'll ever say. And this right here, this is the core of extreme ownership. It's this practice, this discipline of realizing you are responsible for everything in your world. At least everything you can possibly influence. Look, maybe you were dealt a terrible hand of cards. That's not your fault. But you are still the one playing the hand. That part is on you. This quote just nails it. The moment you stop pointing that finger outward and you turn it back on yourself and say, okay, this failed and it's my fault. In that exact moment, you reclaim every single ounce of that power you just gave away. See, admitting fault isn't weakness. It is the ultimate power move. Okay, so how do we actually do this? How do you build this mindset? Because let's be clear, this is not about beating yourself up. It's about a really powerful reframe. It's about learning to think like the hero of your own movie. So, next time you're stuck, just ask yourself this one simple question. What would the hero of my movie do right now? Seriously, would the hero sit around making excuses? Would they blame everyone else? No way! The hero would face the challenge head on, because that's what makes the story interesting, right? That's what makes it epic. And this chart, this perfectly illustrates the whole idea. Look, maybe 10% of life is the stuff that just happens to us. The flat tire, the bad news, whatever. But that giant slice, the other 90%, that is all about how you react. That is where all your power lives. The trap we all fall into is wasting all our energy on that tiny 10% we have zero control over. The hero of the story doesn't sit around wishing for an easier journey. They wish they were stronger. They get that friction, that tough uphill climb. That's not something you run away from. That's the training ground. That's the very thing that forges you into something better. Okay, I get it. This all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually build that rock-solid belief in yourself to live this way every day? Well, the answer is, it comes from the work nobody ever sees. It breaks down into 3 steps. First step, radical honesty. You gotta look yourself in the mirror, no filters, and get real about where you are right now. Step 2 is what's called the lonely chapter. This is where you put your head down and you do the work in silence. You're not looking for likes or applause. You're just focused on making progress. And then, step 3, you start to stack undeniable proof. And you do that by choosing the hard thing over and over again. And what you get from all that is something we'll call built belief. And let me be clear, this is not just positive thinking or repeating affirmations in the mirror. No, this is a deep, bone-deep confidence that comes from the 4 a.m. alarms, the extra set at the gym, the hour of studying when you'd rather be watching TV. It's a fortress of self-belief that you built yourself, brick by painful brick. All right, so now we get to the most crucial part of this whole thing. Because understanding all this is great, but it's useless without doing something. The gap has to be bridged. And your first and really your only next step is simple: action. I mean, look at this. This quote just cuts through all the noise, doesn't it? The gap between the person you are right now and the person you want to become, it has a name. It's called action. That's it. All the thinking, planning, and dreaming mean nothing. Action is the only bridge. Full stop. And listen, that action does not have to be some monumental, life-changing event. In fact, it's way more powerful if it's almost painfully small. Why? Because every tiny action is another brick of proof you're stacking for that built belief. Just go to the gym for 20 minutes. That's a win. Study one single chapter. That's a win. Make that one phone call you've been dreading. That's a win. You start stacking those tiny, undeniable wins, and you start right now. So let's leave it with this. You have to stop waiting to feel ready, because ready is a myth. You'll be waiting forever. The future version of you, the one you dream about becoming, is counting on the you of right now to start laying those bricks, to start building that proof. So the only question that really matters is, what are you going to do right now?